macroeconomic measures as the reform measures, the corrective measures to put the economy on a straight path.
Since becoming Nigeria's Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy in August 2023, Mr. Wale Edun has been busy working at correcting macroeconomic indices which have captured the state of an economy which requires reforms, as well as working to boost productivity. In this special interview with Channels Television, the minister summarizes efforts of the federal government to right the wrongs and calm the nerves of Nigerians amidst high cost of living.
And that is what Mr. President is speaking directly to through the intervention program of direct payments of 75,000 naira each over 3 months. That is 25,000 naira a month to 15 million households. And each household is about 5 people. So that effectively providing funding for 75 million people. Earlier, there was a release from the strategic drains. More recently, there was a 42,000 metric ton release from the strategic reserves, and with another 60,000 metric tons to come. This is all in a bid to make sure there's food in the marketplace, but more importantly, the emphasis now is on making sure food, the purchasing power to buy the foods is in the hands of the poor and the vulnerable in a society in particular. There is also an attempt to give artisans, traders, women, youth, nano businesses, as we will call them, to give them all a grant, a non-repayable grant of 50,000 naira under the same intervention program scheme of Mr. President. And in this particular case, there will be digital verification, just like with the direct payments, direct transfer procedure.
For those who say that the present administration is to be blamed for the current economic hardship, the minister connects it to the build-up of liquidity in the last 8 years, which was without a corresponding increase in productivity.
Only about 5% of the population have bank accounts that have more than 500,000 in them. So the majority were left out for 8 years. They were on the sidelines, while a small minority enjoyed. That is the major correction being made by Mr. President now. That is the major macroeconomic reform that has been put in place. So therefore, government revenue that was outside the federal government's consolidated revenue fund, that was outside the POS, has been diligently identified, and it is being collected back, being taken from the various pockets it was in, and being brought into the federal system. And going forward, the federal government-owned enterprises have a much stricter regime of cost management, because the government is, through technology, taking its revenue immediately it is earned, rather than waiting for a government enterprise to now remit and comply with the rules.
To sustain reforms which would reduce inflation, which currently stands at 29.9%, boost food supply, to crush inflation, which as at January was at 35.4%, boost the value of the naira, which has shed about 40% in 2024 alone, reduce the cost of governance, which some Nigerians have named as a source of leakage to the nation's revenue, there is the need to keep an eye on the nation's revenue and spending.
In addition to a robust revenue system, we're starting from ensuring that oil revenue goes up. Production and sales have gone up from 1.25 million barrels a day when the president assumed office to around 1.65 today, and the intent is to ensure that oil sales remain at that level. Oil production and sales remain at that elevated level, and indeed are increased, because it's still below the OPEC quota. On the non-oil revenue side, that is the taxation, there's a commitment to have a 70% increase this very year in the amount of tax revenue collected, not by increasing taxes, but by rationalization, by improvement, by applying technology. The ways and means needs to be brought down by specific actions, and those are being taken in the financial markets. Funds are being garnered, revenue is being raised with a particular intent to pay down the ways and means and have the government's accounts in balance. The government's day-to-day accounts, where it spends from and takes in revenue, to have that imbalance. That's a commitment of the administration, and the strategy and the path to achieving that in the nearest future has been well laid out.
Mr. Edu promises a closer collaboration between the monetary arm led by the Central Bank of Nigeria and the fiscal side, signaled by the current increase in yields on securities offered in the fixed income market to attract even more foreign investors. Ini John Mekwa, Channels Television News.